Kolmården is Sweden's largest zoo and is also home to the legendary Wildfire roller coaster. That's probably why most people watching this video would want to go to Kolmården, but let me just come out right now and say, this place is awesome. Even if the roller coaster weren't here, this is a really unique place. Ignore the rides, this is still the best zoo I've ever been to. And yeah, you heard me right, because Kolmården is a zoo. It is not a theme park, it is a zoo. There are a few rides, but most people come here for the animals. And understandably so, they have so many here. This place is absolutely massive. So be prepared to do some walking. But I'm going to get into all those details later. This is going to be my full in-depth review based off of the one day that I had at Kolmården. So you're going to get to hear about my experience there, what I recommend, and all that good stuff. Before we enter the park, I want to talk about the parking experience because, believe it or not, we got a parking ticket in the Kolmården parking lot because we didn't know how the system worked. Now, if you've been to parks in Europe, you probably know that the way it really works is that you actually pay for parking as you're leaving the parking lot, not when you first get there. At least that's the case with most theme parks in Europe. Kolmården, however, is different. There's no tolls or anything. You park and you have to go up to a pay station, put in your information, then they give you a ticket that you put on the dashboard. We did not know that at all because the pay stations are a little hidden. We didn't see anything, so we just assumed it was a free parking lot. So be aware of that. Don't be like us. Don't get a parking ticket. Do yourself a favor, go find the pay station. I will also say the location for this park is really cool because as you're driving up to it, you'll be running right alongside the water, and it gets pretty remote. The drive here is a little obscure, lots of back roads, but once you get there, it is so cool. Because you're right up along the coast of Sweden, you'll get a nice breeze throughout the day, and when you're on top of Wildfire, and I've mentioned this in the Wildfire review, you get this absolutely gorgeous view of the landscape around you. The only other area in the park where you can really get that view is while on their Skyride, which what's cool about this Skyride is it is a 30-minute long experience that takes you way back out into the back part of the park where you get to see all these animals. And these animals you can't really see unless you do the Skyride. Everything in Kolmården, once you pay for the ticket, is included, so it's not an upcharge or anything. But it was a totally awesome experience. I love doing the Skyride. And it goes so far back out there that it is just absolutely quiet. You can't hear any noise from any of the rides or anything. And that's actually a very strategic thing. The rides in Kolmården are located in two central areas. So you have one area in the front of the park with a bunch of rides. That's where you have one of the kiddie coasters. And then the other area is in the back of the park. That's where you have Wildfire, the other kiddie coaster, and a Viking ship. And they purposely put the rides together so that the noise doesn't bother the animals. So that was actually very smart on their part. But because there are so many animals here, they have these huge wide open enclosures. As a result, Kolmården is absolutely massive. It is probably a 20-minute walk to get from the front of the park back to Wildfire, and you will not see Wildfire until you get there. That's what's so crazy about it. And this is a terrain park, so be prepared to go uphill. Even right when you walk in, you have to go up this massive hill, and they have an escalator off to the side that you can take because it's such a steep walk uphill. So that was a nice little feature. But as you're walking around, you'll see lots of different animal habitats, and this just shows the difference between American zoos and a Swedish zoo. Here, there are not any crazy huge barriers separating you from the animals. Like if you were a dumb tourist, you could easily just hop over and go into the enclosure. But I guess the Swedish people are a lot smarter than the American people because I guess that doesn't happen here. But I loved the variety of animals they had, and all the habitats were so well done. They really were beautiful. There were great viewing areas. Often there are many animals in one habitat, so there's lots to look at. And if you're lucky, you can even go to a feeding session and watch the animals rip some meat to shreds. That's always a good time. They even have this cool bird show that we went and watched at one point. There were these girls with all these birds flying around. They were playing music to it. It was really neat. And that was popular. That had a big crowd. That had a bigger crowd than Wildfire did. Talking a little bit about the food, I did have a meal here. I had a gyro and I was on these fries and it was so good. I didn't really get to try any other meals, but as for that one meal I had, which you can actually get over by Wildfire, I was really impressed. I was like, man, this is some good food. Also, something that's kind of nice here, Kolmården has free refills, which is very different than what you'll see throughout Europe and even just at amusement parks in general. Most parks don't have that. But at Kolmården, yeah, they just have the drink station. You go and fill it up yourself, and if you want some more, you just walk right up there. So that was nice. That was something I didn't know about going in. The only other thing I ate is I did have an ice cream cone at one point that was huge. It was enough ice cream to probably feed 2 people. Like, unless you were absolutely starving, I don't know if you would eat this much ice cream just because the cone was huge. But to just wrap this up, I highly recommend a visit to Kolmården. If you're an animal lover, a roller coaster enthusiast, or you just happen to be in Sweden, I seriously recommend this place. It is so different from every other park we visited because this isn't even an amusement park. This is a zoo. We visited a freaking zoo in Sweden. Like, what? But it was great. I seriously had a blast here. Everything throughout Kolmården is so well done. It is beautiful. It's so easy to get lost here. Like, seriously, we had to backtrack like several times because the zoo is massive. There's so much to see and do. We didn't even get to see all the shows that they had. But I like to think that we hit the main points. Definitely the things you want to check out are obviously Wildfire. Don't miss the Skyride. That is awesome. And some of my favorite exhibits, I loved the tiger exhibit. They also had a snow leopard one. That was great. I liked seeing the wild dogs because that was when we got to see them getting fed. So that was entertaining. And it's just nice here to be able to walk around and just enjoy the atmosphere and ambiance. And I think it's about less than 2 hours away from Grönalund, so if you're doing a Sweden trip, this is one that you want to include. Yeah, it's a little bit out there, kind of hard to get to, especially if you don't have a car, but trust me, it's worth your time. So that'll do it for my review of Kolmården in Sweden. Let me know if you've been here, if you agree with my thoughts, if you're hoping to visit here one day, and of course, stay tuned for more park reviews here at Coaster Studios, and I'll see you guys next time.